So this morning I got triggered. Yes, I'm going to use that term that these crazies out there love to use. I got triggered by an article. I'll go ahead and go straight to it. GOP House leadership circulated a letter in support of Israeli annexation. Now, as you know, in my last video, I pointed out that annexation is not the correct word because annexation implies taking land that does not belong to them. You know, something that the European colonists enjoyed doing over the past 1,000 years. No, I take that back. The past 2,000 years. No, this is applying sovereignty to land that already belongs to Israel. Republican leadership in the U.S. House of Representatives have been circulating a letter to Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in support of Israel expecting to annex, applying sovereignty to parts of Judea and Samaria that they like to call the West Bank, according to the copy of a letter obtained by JNS. Now, once again, parts of Judea and Samaria, and even that is not accurate. It might be half of Judea and zero or nearly zero of Samaria, coming to about 30% total. Once again, this is even giving your blessing to it is a slap in the face against the Almighty. Because what it's saying is, but you may not take the rest of the Holy Land. That's what this letter is in essence saying. You can only take a little bit. The Pharaoh type of negotiation that I was talking about in my last video. So, as a reminder, this map is the map that was promised by the British in 1917 to Israel. This is the land that was promised. That includes all of Gaza as well. Now, because the world is reneging on this commitment and coming up with these peace plans of the century on one side of the continent and abject refusal to accept that Israel even exists on the other side of the continent. So now Turkey and Egypt are about to go to war. That was posted somewhere yesterday. It might have been on Zero Hedge. I believe it was. They probably already have a new lineup of headlines, I figure. Yeah, if you want to find it, you're going to have to look for it, I think. And of course, India and China are about to go to war with each other again. There it is right here. Sisi's declaration of war puts Turkey and Egypt on a war footing over Libya. Now, in case y'all didn't realize it, Egypt and Ethiopia are about to go to war over Ethiopia taking all the water with their dam, their new dam, and taking all the water from Egypt. Egypt and Turkey have long been on opposite sides of the raging battle for the fate of Libya, with Turkey providing major military support and backing for the UN-recognized government of National Accord, GNA, in Tripoli, with Egypt backing General Khalifa Haftar. So you can read here that that Egypt drew a red line right here. Sisi declared if GNA forces attempted to enter Haftar-controlled Sirte, pushing deeper into central Libya, this will be a red line for Egypt, forcing its intervention. All right. Crucially, both Tripoli and its main ally in Turkey on Sunday condemned what they call Sisi's declaration of war. So if that is not enough, what Turkey is doing, look what we have here. Remember, the land that was promised to Israel also included Gaza. And when the world forced Israel to give up Gaza, look what we have here. Palestinian Authority ready to sign maritime exclusive economic zone deal with Turkey. A pact with Palestine, a name that will soon be in the dustbin of history, could strengthen Turkish oil and gas claims in the Mediterranean. Now, you see, folks, if you read this article, you'll notice it talks about how Turkey and Greece have been at loggerheads with each other over Cyprus, right here. And they're both NATO allies. Remember those scriptures like in Haggai 2, verses 18 through 22? Brother against brother. Remember reading in Ezekiel 38 and 39, brother against brother, when they come against Israel? So, like I said in the previous video, the foundation is already laid for this brother against brother phenomenon. We have it here in the United States now. Why is it happening? Well, folks, how long is it going to take for me to lay this thing out? All right, before I get started on my next line of thought here, I'm going to go ahead and go to Deuteronomy 32. All right, I lose my spot here. Right here. It's in Deuteronomy 32, starting verse 8. When the Most High took possession of the Gentiles, or gave the Gentiles their possession, when he separated, when he divided, when he segregated, means the same thing, doesn't it? Let me show you this word, and you tell me. Dispersed, divided, spread apart, parted, parts, scattered, separated, 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 separated. And what does the word segregate mean? To set apart from the rest of each other, isolate, or divide. All right. When the Most High divided to the Gentiles, the Goy, their inheritance, when he segregated the sons of Adam and he set the boundaries of those people according to the number of the children of Israel. So does that mean that this particular map is going to be all that's going to be allotted to Israel forevermore? That would be an absolute falsehood. Because what is going to happen is, however it is done, when all Israel is going to be gathered together in one place again, if it's only 50 million people, then this particular statement in verse 8, Deuteronomy 32, verse 8, applies. If that number happens to be 100 million people, then once again, the statement that Moses made in Deuteronomy 32 and verse 8 applies. If there is 400 million of the people of Israel and all believers that Jehovah brings back to the Holy Land, to the kingdom, then obviously they would not fit in this minuscule piece of land, or much less the land that the world currently will allow Israel to live in. Why is this going to happen? Because Jehovah's portion, not the Lord's portion, Jehovah's portion, his people, Jacob, is his inheritance, or it says the band, it says the lot, or the territory. So in other words, this verse is the same, this verse 9 is the same as verse 8, because whatever the number of the people, that is the territory of Jehovah's inheritance. So the world, including the United States Republican Party, just doesn't get it. You see, and it's because the rest of the world, they have touted intermingling, they call it integration, as a way to cover up the crimes of the past. What do I mean, the crimes of the past? The buying and selling of slaves. I don't mean just slaves, I mean whole nationalities of slaves. All the Gentile nations have been involved in this, and the Europeans especially. So they think to make things right would be a society of integration, amalgamation, which Daniel 2. Daniel 2 says it does not work. And don't get angry with me for agreeing with the Bible and not with you. That is your problem, not mine. See, the United States is a nation of people who claim to abide by the words of the Bible and then turn around and do the exact opposite. And then when somebody points out a scripture in the Bible that is contrary to the teachings of the nation, they get angry. They call you names. They call you bigot. Verse 45. Is it 45? 40. We'll start in verse 40. And the fourth kingdom, that was Rome, shall be strong as iron, and for as much as iron breaks in pieces and shatters everything, as the iron that breaks all these, shall it break in pieces and crush, shatter, subject whole nations into either extermination or slavery. In the case of Carthage, it was extermination. In the case of the Jews, it was attempted extermination over and over and over again, and also slavery. But many nations were subjected to slavery by the Europeans. And whereas you saw the feet and the toes, part of potter's clay and part of iron, the kingdom shall be what? Divided. What do you mean divided? Let's continue. It explains itself. It shall have the strength of the iron, for as much as you saw the iron mixed with miry clay, and as the toes of the feet were part of iron and part of clay, so the kingdom will be partly strong and partly broken. And whereas you saw iron mixed with miry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave to one another, because iron is not mixed with miry clay. In other words, integration doesn't work. But now you see what happens when you try integration. You eventually get what you've been having in Europe last year and now this year in the United States. Balkanization. And furthermore, since the United States government wants to balkanize Israel, that curse has been thrown back at the United States, and now the United States is being balkanized as we speak. And if you think I'm kidding, we have this Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone, CHAZ, all right, in Seattle. They chased the police officers out. The mayor and the police chief won't do anything. The city of Seattle has been essentially balkanized. Keep on pushing Israel and you'll be balkanized. You'll be cut to pieces. United States government, you keep on doing this, like what the House GOP leadership have done. This letter in support of Israeli so-called annexation, which is actually applying sovereignty, is only for 30% of Judea and Samaria. This is like saying, oh, Pharaoh's noblemen agree that all the people of Israel can go and leave Egypt and sacrifice to their Elohim in the desert, but all their cattle and all their animals have to stay behind. That's not a good faith. That's not good faith support at all. No, that's not support. That's treachery. That is the same treachery that is written in the book of Isaiah, Isaiah 24. Where is it? Here we go, right here. Isaiah 24, verse 16. From the uttermost parts of the earth, we have heard songs, even glory to the righteous. They say, or it doesn't say, but I say, it says, my leanness, wasting. Leanness and wasting. Whoa. The treacherous dealers have dealt treacherously. Yes, the treacherous dealers have dealt very treacherously. Who are these treacherous dealers? The treacherous dealers are these people here, and also those in the Democrat Party. Because what will happen is, in the next 2 years, there's going to be, once again, a change of power, probably. Probably. If not, then in 4 years. There will be a flip. And the government will go back on its word. Just like Pharaoh. So there is no good faith here. None. It's treachery. And the Bible speaks so. Why does it say this? Why is it talking about this treachery? Because Jehovah makes the earth empty, makes it waste, turns it upside down, or turns it on its face, smashes the face down into the ground, and shatters or scatters the inhabitants thereof. So with the folk, so with the priest. As with the servant, so with the master. As with the maid, so with the mistress. In other words, the suffering is going to be the same. The rich folks are not going to be able to escape the wrath of Jehovah with their riches. So their fall is going to be even greater. As with the buyer, so with the seller. As with the lender, so with the borrower. As with the taker of usury, so with the giver of usury. The land will be utterly, it says, luxuriant. Should read, the land that was luxuriant will be plundered. The luxuriant, plunder, spoil and plunder, because Jehovah has spoken this word. The earth mourns and fades away, and the world languishes and fades away. The height people of the earth now languish. Does the United States think that they're going to escape that? Does Europe, Russia, Iran, and all these people who have looked down upon the Jews all these years, do they think they're going to escape this? The earth is defiled under the inhabitants thereof, because they have transgressed the instruction, the direction, the law. They've broken their promises. They've even broken international law. And then they turned around and claimed that Israel was the one who broke international law when it was the nations who broke international law, because it was the nations who agreed to this all be going to the Jews. It was them. And then the British reneged because money is the root of every kind of evil, the love for money. You go back to that and go back to Isaiah 24. They changed or they switched the statute. That's what they did. They switched it up. They say, okay, Israel, you're going to have your land. No, you're not. The United States will have one administration that will be slightly for applying sovereignty. Then another one will come up and say, absolutely not, you must go to your 67 borders. They switched it up. They changed the statute. And then they defeated the everlasting covenant. To break, to frustrate. You broke asunder. You cast it off. You caused it to cease. You defeated it. You disannulled it. This is what you've done to the new covenant. Oh, cross-carrying Christian nations, this is what you've done. And that is the reason why the height of the people, the highest of the people, are going to fall flat on their faces. Make no mistake about it, folks. This nation, the United States of America, and all of Europe, Russia, Turkey, you name it, they will all become disjointed. And those nations that have practiced integration will be disintegrated. That's right. They will be shattered to pieces. They will be balkanized. They will be, instead of integrated, they will be disintegrated. You see, the words in the scripture shall stand. And all peoples of the earth who do not stand with the word of Jehovah, they will fall at the word of Jehovah. It's just that simple. So we're getting ever closer now to July the 1st. Once again, a whole lot of hee-hawing going on concerning applying sovereignty to parts of Judea and Samaria. Nobody's really going to know what's going to happen except when Jehovah does it his way, the nations will become absolutely shocked, horrified, and dismayed. Because you see, folks, it will be a kingdom, not a democracy. Israel's democracy will be annulled, will be thrown out. It will be a kingdom instead. And so there will be no Palestinian voters to cause further confusion with this integration doctrine that has been forced upon Israel by the ones who smashed other nations. They caused many nations to cease to exist. They scattered all of Israel. And now that the time is coming for their day of reckoning, they want to embrace integration, the bringing of all races together as one nation, like Nimrod did. You read in the scripture, it does not work. It's all going to come crashing down, folks. Disintegration will occur, and it very likely will occur very shortly, because, like I said, it's already starting. So pay attention to the news and be ready. Be ready to join the kingdom, Jehovah's kingdom in Israel.